of things. But let's get started. This leadership meeting is about us becoming better leaders and understanding the direction of where the company is headed and how we're going to do it together. We're going to go over a lot of things, a lot of issues that I saw when I was, doing my rounds here. I totally found a new level of respect for everybody. I know we've kind of been operating, I feel like, with our hands tied behind our back a little bit. And dude, I admire the type of work you guys have been putting in. Literally, I have a brand new found respect for you guys. You guys have been doing it in a different way. And Jason and I, what we're going to do is we're going to implement certain things to cut the shackles and let you guys do what you're good at. Like, we're trying to push this thing as fast as we can. But just like any business, it's growing pains. We're changing some things up, and we wish they were a little bit faster, but realistically, they're not going to be. We got to take our time doing the things and doing what we need to do. So having said that, Jason, I'm going to give you the mic, and then I'll jump in as we keep going.
Let's rock and roll. Okay, guys, so appreciate it. My stuff today, just so you know, moving forward on this call, you're not going to just hear myself or Willie presenting to you guys. We're going to take a piece of it. We're going to break apart some metrics that we want to measure, on a week-to-week, month-to-month, quarter-to-quarter, and year-to-year basis, which will be a big portion of this call. We'll be tracking and managing the results and what's actually happening with the team, and then individually by market, by DM. So a lot of this call moving forward is going to be going over a lot of that stuff, and then we're going to be asking each one of you guys to participate and be actually presenting trainings within this call. And so we'll talk a little bit about that today. What I'm going to do today, just so you guys have an overview, is give you the platform, and I've created a training deck that I'm going to show you guys today, and I'm going to break apart the first step in the training that we're going to go through in this series. And then moving forward, we're going to assign somebody each week to come in and actually do a piece of this training. But you guys will get to see me do it today, and then I'll be with you throughout the weeks as you're planning your training to help you put things together and organize your thoughts and things like that. So pretty excited. And I just want to give a quick shout out to Willie for organizing this. It's phenomenal. It's much needed. I think this is going to give a chance for everybody to collectively voice, I don't want to say concerns, but just areas of opportunity, areas of improvement that we need as a team. The more that we can be transparent and then we can have conversations of things that need to be done, I think it's going to be useful as a group. And so, yeah, just shout out to Willie for that. And Willie, just for context, I should have asked you this to begin with. Have you gone over the book with everybody on this call that we want to do, or are we letting everybody know the book today?
So today we're going to let everybody know.
Okay, perfect.
And the reason why I said that, because as I was traveling, this is the book I was reading, and everywhere I would go, like every chapter just made sense with the person that I was dealing with, and it was super vital. And I think it's just as a whole, so we can start on the right mindset. I think we start with this particular book together. It'll give us the next 21 weeks to train together as well.
Yep. Okay. So everybody who's on the call, has anybody? I'll just ask the question at this point because I'm gonna kick it off here. And then we'll back into metrics and we'll back into the protocol of how we're going to move forward with this. But the book that Willie's chosen, which I agree with 100%, is the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. So is anybody familiar with the book? Has anybody read that? Okay, cool. So there's a lot of, I've read it a few times, and every time that I go back through it, I get some aha moments and some stuff and some refreshers that I need. So even if you have read it, the way we're going to break apart this training is there's 21 laws, as it states in the title of the book. Today, I'm going to do number 1, and I'm going to break apart what it means to me, and then give some feedback and some takeaways and some stuff that I learned from it. Moving forward for the next 21 weeks or 20 weeks after this, we're going to follow that book. And so we'll get you guys copies, or we can download, or you guys, if you already have it, Willie and I will work that out today, how we want to get everybody that book. But each week we'll assign it to somebody, and then we'll be reading this together and taking the lessons that we learn in it and then figuring out how to apply them to the team. So that's kind of the premise. And then beyond the book, we're going to be talking a lot about metrics and what performance we're getting, the KPIs that we're actually tracking. And again, that'll break down by, as a company as a whole, all the way down to individual DMs. So without further ado, let me share my Let me share my screen here with you guys. Okay, can everybody see this?
Yes.
Okay, let me go back. Okay, so leadership training. So the way that I want to start this out, because we're going to break down this book. So one thing that I'm super passionate about, and I can tell Willie is as well, and a lot of good leaders that I've met, is the ownership mentality of actually leading a team. So there's a big difference, and I'm going to ask a question here for some people, even though you kind of see my thoughts on it, but there's a big difference between being a manager of something and then actually being a leader of something, in my opinion. So I'm going to open it up at that point, or at this point, and just anybody want to give me their 2 cents on that, their feedback? Do you guys see the difference? Does anybody have some opinions on the difference between being a good manager and a good leader? Anybody thought about this? Any feedback? Any thoughts? I want this to be super interactive. So
Jason, this is Zach in Vegas.
Zach.
The way I look at it is, I'm sure we've all seen it before. It's that picture on social media where it's like a line of guys pulling a rope.
Yep.
And it has the boss and the leader mentality, and the leader's in the front and the boss is up on top of the whatever they're pulling, whipping them.
Yep.
And it's the same mentality. I'm glad we're talking about extreme ownership, because when you take ownership of everything, then you're always in control. It's never something outside of your control that you can blame or use as an excuse or justification for your lack of success.
Correct. Yeah, that's huge. I love that. We're going to break that apart a little bit more, because there's some pieces in there that are phenomenal to talk about. Anybody else? Any other thoughts? Difference between has anybody experienced it? Like somebody that was, just had the title of a manager, and we're not here to complain, but maybe didn't have the leadership that went with it. And so it was kind of like, hey, I'll help you when you need things, but never really out in front, actually going for it and actually showing you what to do. The difference between telling and showing. Any other thoughts on it?
I think, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, so real simple. People hate being managed. They love being led.
Yeah.
It's just real simple. It's like, and as a manager, you don't want to be micromanaging people. So it's getting people to do things because they genuinely want to do it. That's the mark of a true leader.
Love that. I love that, JJ. What were you saying, Frog?
AJ took it out of my mouth.
Okay. Stole your words. Okay, so this isn't the book that we're gonna go off of for this whole training, but this does come from Extreme Ownership. This is by Jocko Willink. So if you guys haven't read that, it's a phenomenal book. But the line that he opens up with in a lot of his topics is, without a team, there can be no leadership. So I think we've all met people in our lives that they talk about being a leader, they talk about being the alpha, they talk about being the, whatever, but nobody wants to work with them. Nobody wants to follow them. Nobody actually believes that they're going to do what they say they're going to do. Or when they make a mistake, they have the tendency to put it on everybody else and say, oh yeah, if the situation wasn't this, if the situation wasn't that, then I would be able to be effective in my role. So they don't own it. And when they make a mistake, it's not like, hey, next time I'll learn from that and we'll do better as a team. And I learned, and so I actually grew from that. It's always everybody else. So as we go through this book and as we go through this training, keep in mind, being a leader, first and foremost, means that somebody is following you, right? And or a group of people are following you, or people are looking to you for guidance. So you can't just come across as a leader, in my opinion, and anybody can echo and their opinions on this, but you can't just come across as a leader as like, hey, I know everything. My word says all. There's no dialogue. There's no communication in any of this. Do what I say or else. Because nobody will ultimately want to follow you. Yes, we have principles. Yes, we have rules that we're going to follow as a team collectively, but nobody wants to work for somebody that knows everything or never makes a mistake. So you have to realize that as we talk about this, the team is what makes you the leader. The team is what gets you to the place you want to go. And there's a difference between being pushed up by a team and then pulling with you. So that's that mentality of being out in front. And this is a really cool line in the book as well, and I love it. There's really only two measures of a leader, of whether or not the only true measure of a leader is whether or not the team succeeds and fails. So the only real traits of leadership are effective and ineffective. And I love that in the book because everybody talks about all these different things, like, oh, that person was naturally just a gifted communicator. They're naturally an influencer. They're naturally this person. They're naturally that person. That person is naturally just not a good leader. They're way too quiet. They don't do this. They don't do that. People have different styles and personalities, right? And people have different ways that they're going to lead teams. And people have to bring those strengths out when they lead their team. But at the end of the day, I think a lot of times when we talk about management and we talk about leadership, we get caught up in the profile of the person that's doing it. Where at the end of the day, and I say this all the time on my trainings, intentions are great, but they don't pay the bills, right? The only true test of a leader is whether or not you're getting results. So are you being effective or are you being ineffective? When you're being ineffective about something, we all are on a day-to-day basis. We just have to recognize and we have to learn from those things and figure out what strengths we need to bring to the table in order to be effective. So the goal with this training, the goal with the 21 steps, because it's a massive, there's a massive amount of content in this book, is to not individualize you and try to create just one person, or not try to not individualize you and just create one person. Not everybody's going to be a Willie. Not everybody's going to be a JJ. Not everybody's going to be a Frawley or a Sweeney or a Zach. You all don't have the exact same personalities. So what people look for is they look for authenticity in who you are. And then your results, when they come, they're a testament of all the different skills that you've acquired within that leadership category. Does that make sense? Does anybody want to follow up on that? Does anybody have any thoughts on that? Because I think it's really big. I've done a ton of leadership trainings. I've had a ton of leaders work for me. I've worked for a ton of people that are really effective and some people that need, some help on the effectiveness level. And ultimately, I just want to make sure that as we move through this series, you guys realize that it's not about changing who you are or calling out one thing as being better than the other thing, like this personality type versus that personality type. You are an individual person, and the reason why you're in the position you're in is for a reason. This training is about giving you skills to be able to deal with and handle and think about things in a different way to be effective versus ineffective. If that makes sense. So, and Willie, I don't know if you have any thoughts you want to add to that, but I wanted to start it out there.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with you. I think this is, one of the biggest things that I've learned in leadership is the variety of leadership. And there's no good and there's no bad when it comes to leadership. It comes down to either you're effective or ineffective, and you can be effective in your own way, but it's just knowing the strategies on how to be effective that makes you a leader. If you're an ineffective leader, it doesn't matter if you're enthusiastic as hell. If you ain't getting results done, it doesn't matter. So is learning the skill set for who you truly are and how you can get yourself to the next level without changing anything about you other than getting yourself more familiar with the steps of being a leader. So that's correct. Money. I completely agree with that.
Awesome. Any other thoughts on it? Any other, again, because I don't want this to be just me talking or Willie talking. Like, what do you guys think? Do you guys see that? Does anybody disagree with it? Does anybody see that, there needs to be a certain profile? Does anybody have any experiences they want to share?
This is Sean in Vegas. I kind of look at it almost the same as like when you're first learning your door approach. You can rip off, certain things from other people who have been successful doing it, but ultimately you have to kind of cater it to your style. So I don't think there's really a one-size-fits-all form of leadership. I think the way that you said it is perfect. It either comes down to, are you accomplishing what you set out to accomplish, or are you not? Pretty much it.
Yep. Yeah. So as we move forward with this, be thinking in your head as we move forward with every single one of these steps that we're going to train on, be thinking about the fact that results in and of themselves, and Willie, you'll chuckle at this, but results, according to Tony Robbins, they are 80% psychology and they are 20% mechanics. It's why every single person can go into a gym and do the exact same routine, the exact same workout. We could all go in there. Two people could simultaneously go in and and do a circuit. They could do 4 rounds of 20 push-ups, 5 pull-ups, and 30 sit-ups. And one person could be laid out on the floor, completely dead after that workout, soaking in sweat. And the other person could walk out not winded at all and go get a Coca-Cola at McDonald's. The difference is the intensity that they go through the routine. It's not the mechanics of it. It's not just that they went through those rounds. How intense are you? What's your psychology when you're doing it? Is there a result that you're trying to get out of it? Is there something that you're putting in that's more intense or more measurable than just saying, oh, I'm just going to walk through these motions? So as we go through this, realize that all of these applications, they're tried and true and tested, and they are proven to be effective, but they are 20% of the equation. The 80% is the way that you approach them, which is the authenticity of you in the equation, the psychology behind how you approach it and how intense you are about it. Okay, so that's extreme ownership. So I just wanted to start there before we go into everything, because you'll have to realize that we can go through the routine of talking about all these laws, but unless they're taken and applied with intensity, they don't matter. They're not gonna affect you. So you got to own that part of it.
Let me add something, Jason, before you keep going on this. Dude, I truly love how you started with this ownership portion of it. You know, in order for us to be successful as a company, every single one of us needs to take 1,000% ownership on what we're doing. And as we continue to grow, you're going to be demanded to do more. And we will expect you to do more, because we got to grow this thing and we got to do it together. Now, and unfortunately, I got to say this, but there is going to be a lot of you guys or some of you guys that are going to go all in and take 100% full ownership. 6 months, a year from now, some of you guys won't be here. And that's completely understandable. That's part of business, part of growth. I hate to lose anyone, but the biggest thing that I'll see going forward is ownership. If you're not owning what we're expecting you to do, this will probably not be a good unit for you. We want everyone in here bought in 1,000%. Like, if there's anything holding you back, I suggest burn the ships, burn them all down, because we need you here and we need you focused on what we're actually going after, because there is going to be a lot of changes. And the only way it's going to happen is by you having the right mindset to go through all the changes and the hiccups and all the trials that are going to come through. But eventually, at the end, we will succeed. We will triumph, and we will do something special here. And I hope every single one of you guys are part of it. But it's not going to happen if you guys don't take ownership on it. Jason, go ahead. Sorry.
Yep. Awesome. Okay, so moving forward in the 21 irrefutable laws of leadership, I just want to give you a quick premise, and those of you that have read it, you've seen this in the book already, but big takeaways on this. Number one is that the laws can be learned. So some are easier to understand and apply than others, but every one of them can be acquired. So regardless of what level you're coming into this with, what level of understanding or how much experience you have, every one of these can be learned. So the laws can also stand alone, but each law is going to complement all of the others. But you don't need one in order to learn the other. So people start with different things. They're strong at different things. Like, everybody's seen those pictures of the skills that somebody has. Like, if you're at 20% of the skill that you want to have, you want to get to 100%. You focus on the areas in which you're really good at, obviously, but at the same time, you recognize what areas you're not performing or you don't live up to the potential that you have. And then you really hone in and you focus on those things. If you do what you've always done, you'll always get the same results. So if you're a really good recruiter, that's phenomenal. But if you can't produce, you can't sell, you can't lead, you can't have a hard conversation, just constantly bringing people in and seeing them leave in 5 days is not going to be the area that you need to work on. Vice versa to that, if you're a really good manager, but you can't bring people into the building, then you have nobody to manage. So we need to understand what areas that we are weak or that we need to be better at, and then we need to hone in and focus on those, and all of them kind of complement each other. So the laws can carry consequences with them. So apply the laws and people follow you. Violate or ignore them, and they will not, you will not be able to lead others. And so what's big about this is once you start operating this way and you really start being all of these things, and you start vocalizing the fact that you live this way and that you operate this way, those people around you that you lead and that you manage with, your peers, they're going to hold you accountable to this. So taking this on means that you're going to then be known as somebody who lives this way, and it can carry consequences whether you perform or you don't perform the laws. And then also the laws, these laws are the foundation of leadership. So once you learn the principles, you have to practice them and apply them in your life. So just knowing, and that comes back to my extreme ownership portion, just knowing the principles behind this, that's not enough. You have to have the ability to practice them on a day-to-day basis. You have to have the ability to recognize that you can walk through the motions, you can go through this training, and you can say, okay, this first law is really cool, but if you never think about it again and you don't apply it, you may as well never have heard it. So you have to keep up on it. And that's anything in life. And I know I'm kind of preaching here, but I have to tell myself that constantly, like, what is it that I really want to exude in my, in my business life, my personal life, whatever it may be. And I have to be focused on those things. They're not just going to come naturally. You're not just going to fall into the level of success that you want. It has to be extremely intentional. So there's just a couple bullet points to go, to start with. We're going to get into a ton of dialogue now that we're in the actual gist of it, but just this deck will go out to everybody, and then there'll be a recording of this, but just know that going into it, you have to own it. It comes down to you and what you apply, the intensity. All of them can be learned no matter where you're starting at. But once you actually apply them, you're going to be held accountable to them, not just by yourself, but by everybody around you. So keep that in mind. Okay, so the first law, the law of the lid. I love this quote. So when you guys do your own trainings on this, I want basically one page that explains what you took away. I don't need, nobody on the call. We don't need 30 different slides that explain and break down, and you literally just copy and paste the whole book. So one slide that's going to take away what you learn from the training of the law. So the quote that I decided to take from the book and share with the rest of you is that a person's impact is only a fraction of what it could be with good leadership. And I'm going to break that down. So in the book, if you've read it, there's the story of McDonald's and Ray Kroc. I'm going to give you another example because I want you guys to be able to read it if you haven't read it. But I'm going to give you another example. So the lid principle is really pretty basic. There's an old Chinese proverb. Maybe I've told this in a training before, but fleas can jump like, I don't even know what it is. It's like 1,000 times their height or something crazy. So fleas can jump really high. So there's an old Chinese proverb that if you put a bunch of fleas inside of a glass jar and you put a lid over the top of it and you poke a bunch of holes in it, for the first 20, 30 minutes that those fleas are inside of there, if I put 100 fleas in there, you're going to hear this tick, 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 because they're going to be trying to jump out and they're going to hit their head on the lid. Over a period of time, you go to an hour, 2 hours, you slowly start to hear a lot less ticking. And then over the first 5 hours, it's 5 hours later, you're going to basically hear silence. So those fleas will still be jumping, but they'll be jumping below where that lid is because they consistently hit their head. Tick, 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 tick to nothing. You can then take the lid off of the jar and you can leave the fleas inside of there and they'll all eventually die. Because they've realized that if they jump to a certain level, there's going to be pain or there's a threshold or there is a lid above them, so they can't jump out. And there will be nothing there. It'll be literally air, and they will just continuously jump and jump and jump until they die, and they'll stay in the jar. With the proverb, you can put one flea inside of there that doesn't know that there's a lid. So I can take this outside flea that just was out jumping around at free will, put him inside the jar. He doesn't know there's a lid there, and he will immediately jump out. What happens immediately after is that all the other fleas see that somebody jumps out, and they'll slowly start to jump out, and everybody will jump out. All of them will jump out. The takeaway in this is that we place, based on our own experiences, based on our own past, based on our own leadership, based on our own skill set, everything, we place these lids on the potential or the level that we can get to just in life and business and personal, whatever it may be. We put this ceiling on it. We put this lid on it. What happens is that because of the pain, it's not a real lid. It's been removed. It actually isn't really there, but we've hypothetically felt pain or we felt a threshold at this level. So we never allow ourselves to jump beyond where we see that ceiling, that glass ceiling. And I know you guys have heard of an example of this probably a million times, but we don't ever jump beyond it. When it comes to leadership and somebody being successful, there's a dynamic here, and there's actually this little graph will show it pretty well, that when it comes to success, whatever level of success we may think we have today, let's just say that Jason, me, I'm a level of 9. I'm a successful 9, but I have 0 leadership. So I'm at the impact of myself. So I go out there on a day-to-day basis and I perform and I do my job and I do whatever, but I have 0 leadership in me, and then I impact 0 people. It's just all about me. I'm successful. I'm successful in what I do. On the success scale, I may be an 8, but on the overall scale, I'm pretty actually low because I'm not impacting anybody and I'm not bringing that success to anybody else in life. And no matter what people say, I've sat down with people like, I only care about my own success, and I want to be the rabbit and I just want to do my own thing, whatever. In life, if you're not growing, you are dying. If you're not progressing, you are literally dying. It's like water. So water, when you think of water moving and it's rapids and it's crazy and everything's crashing and it's wild and everything's like kind of chaotic, when you look beyond what's happening there, there's grass, there's trees, there's fish in the water, there's moss, there's things growing. That's where life happens. When you put a dam in front of water and it stops, not only does the water go away, but everything around it starts to die. There's no more trees. There's no more grass. There's no more moss. The fish can't live. As much as you think that your own personal success is getting you the level of success that you can get, because of the game that you chose to play, because you're in this position, if you really just wanted to have no leadership, then you would go be a decentralized accountant somewhere and work in a WeWork space, and you would just punch numbers all day. So you've made a choice to be in this game of impacting not only yourself, but those around you. So your effectiveness level and your actual success level, in the book, it shows this. If you can raise your leadership to even call it a 6, you were at a 1, but now you're at a 6, your impact or your success level goes up by roughly 500% because now it's spread beyond just yourself. So where you thought you may have been successful based on your own merits, watch what happens when you grow your leadership to a new level. You don't even have to worry about the money. You don't even have to worry about the success. It will naturally grow because your leadership will bring people into those metrics, and it will allow more and more people to then be successful and compound on itself to get you to the level you maybe never dreamed of. These lids that we place on ourselves as leaders or as people or as reps or anybody, they're all based on past experiences. They're all based on what we've experienced up till this point. The worst thing that we can do in leadership is we can carry all of the negatives with us to the point that we can't see what's on the horizon, which is what Willie keeps talking about. There is a future. There is past experiences. There's things that people have gone through. Yes, there's been challenges. There's been this, maybe a promise broken, whatever it is. If you dwell on those things and you don't allow them to, or if you allow them to keep you from growing your leadership level to impact more people, you will stay at the same success you've always had. To do the same thing over and over again and expect a different result is the definition of insanity, right? So when we stay at this level, at the success level, what we've always had will be what we always will have in the future until we recognize it and we say, okay, what if I didn't focus on just the success, my own personal success? What if in the next 12 months, all I focused on was being a better leader, was taking these principles that I learned over the next 20 steps and applying them to the people that I work with, applying them to the people that I talk to, applying them to the people that I'm trying to bring in, applying them to the people that I work for, because it goes both ways, right? You can lead even when you work for somebody, and you'll learn about that in the book. What if all you focused on was your success in the leadership category, and then you just watch your overall success bloom and grow? Because it's compounding. It compounds on where you're currently at. But the lid, going back to the extreme ownership portion, is placed on your potential specifically by you, not by anybody else. As much as sometimes when you're in a role, or you're, sometimes reps when they've been, just a sales rep for 6 months or a year, and they're like, man, I really want to get to that next level. There's a way to get there. And I believe with Willie, especially with Willie, like Willie will fucking promote you. Like, you will get promoted. You will get a shot. You will get a shot to do it. But if you haven't replaced or removed the lid and given yourself the ability to grow as a leader, it doesn't matter what success you've had as an individual. It doesn't count in the leadership category. So we want to focus on that. And I love starting the book here because it shows you that as an individual, you may think you're at a 9 out of 10 right now on a success level. But what if you were that 9 out of 10 and you were affecting 100 people and they were successful as well? What would happen? Your success would compound by 500%, 1,000%, 1,500%, and you would get to a level maybe you never dreamed of. But if you don't take off the lid with that potential, it's going to be really hard to push past it. All of the next steps will coincide with this, but that's the takeaway. So we're going to open this up. We're going to talk. So in the training, just understand when you do your portion on the next steps, and we'll assign who's going to do whatever, or the next things, it's going to be one slide that you're going to break down the step of leadership and what it means to you and your takeaway. And then as a group, we're going to spend 5 to 10 minutes max, and we're just going to discuss it. I want to hear examples. I want to hear thoughts. I want to hear anybody who has any takeaways, anything you're doing that can apply to this specific example. So let's open it up, guys. What do you guys think?
Jason, I'm going to steal the mic here. So if you're a 9 out of 10 and you're all about yourself, and therefore, but then you get 100 people under you, and now you have the influence, would you say that it's also a deficiency that you have nobody over you as well as coaching you to even get better as that person needs a leader as well?
Yeah, so it's a good topic. So basically, if I understand you right, you're saying, like, if you get to a 9 out of 10 or whatever, and you get to this point where there's nobody leading you, is that a problem? Is that what you're saying? Sorry.
I'm kind of bringing it up as saying that, I would say that would be a deficiency, and kind of have you, I don't know, I'm looking for agreement, actually. You know what I mean? What did you say? Like, that's a great place to be in, but that still person needs it.
If you ever stop learning, if you ever believe that you don't have the ability to learn or be taught or be led by anything, then you're in for a rocky road. You're in for a rough patch in your life. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean, like, eventually everybody on this call, you're owning companies, you're a CEO, whatever. That doesn't mean even CEOs, when they get to a certain level, they have peer groups, they have impact groups, they have books, they have mentors out there, they have something spiritual, they have God, they have whatever. You're always progressing, you're always learning. There's always something above you that's guiding you wherever you want to go in life. And so, I mean, my 2 cents, and I agree with you 100%. If you ever get to the point where you think, because now, okay, the buck stops with me, even if you're the owner of the company and it literally stops with you, you have to intentionally set up a situation where you're still being taught and you're still learning and you're still asking for leadership from something, which maybe even means that you're now learning and you're gaining leadership from the people that are coming in under you, because they're teaching you principles about new technology or this or that, or things that, I mean, I'm not even that old. I'm 31, and I'd meet some of these people that are 21 years old. I'm like, you could teach me a massive amount about streamlining things and social media and whatever. So you're always learning. You're always trying to remove that lid. And it doesn't have to be a vertical hierarchy of leadership always. It means I can get leadership from the kid that I brought in off the street that I knew nothing about this whatever one topic, and I'm learning from that person. So I agree with you 100%, Mike. I think that you want to make sure that you're always looking for leadership, but at the same time, you're owning the fact that you have to be intentional about that and set it up for yourself the bigger your success grows.
Correct.
Hopefully that makes sense. That was a great point. I appreciate you bringing that up. What else? What other observations?
Hey, Jason, this is Zach again in Vegas. Nothing else to tack on. I thought you did an awesome job. I just wanted to give you obviously a shout out for doing a good job. But I really liked the flea analogy. I've never heard that before, but it makes so much sense in anything performance based. We were talking about it with the managers in Vegas yesterday of the 4-minute mile story of like how it was basically impossible. And then once one guy hit the 4-minute mile, the floodgates broke. And you see it all the time of you start to fall in this trap and lull of what you think is possible. And then when one person proves it wrong, it's like, oh, I can do that. So, but awesome job. I really liked this training.
Well, since we have a flood of volunteers talking, I'll just take this moment of silence just to keep going. So the law of the lid, I've listened to it, so I don't want to ruin it for everybody, but everyone has a law of the lid. It's mental, and so therefore I feel like it's I just wrote down some notes here. It's like the lid for everyone is when you start feeling uncomfortable. You know what I mean? No matter whether you start doubting yourself, you listening to other doubters, but you start feeling uncomfortable. You get that uncomfortable feeling. I've never been here before, even if it's successful. Fear of success is a real thing, and what we need to do is just get comfortable being uncomfortable, and that's when growth happens. And that's it. I'm done.
True statement. True statement right there.
I love it, Mike.
Yeah, true statement. Diego, got anything to add on to that?
I mean, see, I grew up a little different from everybody, especially in New York. I'm the type of person that I got bills. I got a family and I got to raise. I came from South America. I was raised in New York, and my motivation is getting my ass up in the morning and do what I got to do. And I tell my reps every day, if you're not doing what you got to do, don't waste my time, because if that's not enough for you to be motivated to go do what you got to do, I don't know what is. So, yes, certain people are different. They need to be pushed a little bit more. But, my mentality with Daquan is if you come to this office, you better come ready to work. Because if not, then, I'd rather you go work at McDonald's and make something out of nothing, So I definitely agree on leadership. I mean, my biggest floss, right, is recruiting, because I'm very blunt with people. I'm very upfront with them. And sometimes that scares them, and maybe that's something I need to work on. But I'm really straightforward. It's either you come here to do what you got to do, or, hey, man, this is not going to work for you,
Yeah.
So the new guy that we have, Andreas, on our team, from the moment he walked in, I've been really on top of him. And he's been really, impressive, because he'll be the first one to be out there knocking. And I told him, if you don't like something, if you don't like anything that I'm telling you that you disagree, feel free to talk to me, and maybe I'll learn something. But it's it's a work in progress. It's a work in progress.
I love it.
It's huge. Sorry, guys. My talk about leadership. My computer literally just crashed as I'm sitting here. I don't know what happened. So I apologize. Willie, I've got one last slide on there. Do you have that email that you could pull that up and share it with the group? I can do it offhand. I can do it off of memory as well, but whatever we want to do. I don't know if it's in your inbox. I'll just do it off memory. So
go off memory.
Yeah. So apologize for that, guys. But the takeaways today, so we stay on track with time here. We want this to be about a 45-minute max call. The takeaways today are that every one individual that we have as a group, as a leadership group, is going to have, we're all going to have our own struggles that we work through with our team, with individuals that work with us, that we work for, that are our peers, whatever. We're all going to have our own things, right? And they're going to be unique to what you're currently doing on a day-to-day basis. But when people think that uniqueness or that the individuality of what you're going through is like only I ever would know what it's like to be going through this situation with this rep at this specific time, what that does, if you really think that way, what that does is it discounts your ability to take overarching recommendations or knowledge based on the way that leadership and management and growth actually just works. Where I'm getting this from, I don't know if anybody's heard of the book Principles by Ray Dalio, but he talks about this a little bit. Like, he talks about when you're judging the markets, everybody thinks that,
you know, oh, this is an individual circumstance. Like this year, this last 20 years, this last 30 years was so unique to us. But when you go back and you study it over hundreds and hundreds of years, the way that the markets have shifted and changed, there are patterns to virtually everything, and they almost always repeat themselves. There's a machine, there's a system to virtually everything. So yes, you will be in an individual situation with an individual rep in an individual office dealing with your individual things, but these principles are tried and true and tested over tens, you know, like many, many, many years. So never think that one of these principles is above or below what it is that you're currently going through. Never think that at the end of the day, you're not going to be able to take what you could get out of these things because, you know, or out of these principles because your individual situation doesn't apply to them. They actually work. And if you take them as such and you own the fact that they have worked for countless people, when applied effectively, you just will be better and more effective. So with the lid analogy, the request, at least on my end, and, you know, Willie will probably have something to follow up on this, is that really think about it. Like, think about where you're sitting today. Think about the people that you're working with. Think about the level of success that you have. And I'm not just talking about money, not just money, but just success in general, however you define that. And really think about whether or not you're at the place that you want to be. If you have more that you want to do, if you have a level that you want to grow to. And then really think about whether or not you individually, as one person, can get yourself to that level, or if you have to be able to lead people. You have to be able to influence people. You have to be able to have people see a vision and hold people accountable and all the things that we do as leaders and managers. Would you need those things? And if the answer is yes, then take it serious. If the answer is no, then talk to Willie or your manager because then there's probably a bit of a problem. But really think about it, because it's something I've had to do, and I'm only calling that out because I have that personality where I'm like, okay, I can handle this, I can handle this, I can handle that, I can handle that. You need to get to the point where you realize you're going to have to be able to lead people effectively, typically, to get to the level you want to go. So take an inventory of that, figure out where you're at, your thoughts are, and then take this stuff serious. Okay, so moving into the next training. So by end of day today, myself, Willie will collaborate. We'll make sure you guys have a copy of the book or it's downloaded, or we'll figure out a way for you to get it. We'll assign somebody by the end of day today for next Tuesday to do a training on the next step in the book. And I'll send out this deck to everybody so you guys kind of see how to break it apart. The first slide will be a bullet of what you want to get across. So your personal view, which is how I put together the extreme ownership side of it. Like, this is my personal view of how we need to approach this. And then the second slide will be a breakdown of what you got in the book. So the principles you want everybody to get out of it, and then you'll do a small training. The metrics that we're going to be going over moving forward, we're going to spend the rest of this week digging into all of the reports and everything that we have as a company and really finding where people are at according to the metrics. But Willie, do you want to talk a little bit about the metrics that we want to grade people on and the power rankings and things like that moving forward?
Yeah, no, and you know, I had going over like New York, New England. I didn't get a chance to meet with Scott, but I really wanted to go into Chicago, or California, and all these places I've been to. You know, I mean, the biggest concern I had is like we're blind. We're blind to where we're at. We don't know our numbers, and we really have some shitty process. And I'm being blunt, guys. I'm being real. Like, our processes aren't the best, and I've seen that. You know, so what we're doing in our end, you know, Jason, myself, John, Justin, Brandon, we're all trying to come up with a better process for everybody to streamline this nationwide. Talks about pay scale, talks about everything. We're all unified. Now, dollar amounts might be different state to state because it's different state to state, but it's going to be uniform all the way around the nation. So you can sell in New York or you can sell in California doing the same process. It's not going to affect you anywhere else. We're going to streamline this to a point where you're putting proposals and you're getting them within 15 minutes, hopefully even sometimes faster, or 30 minutes, so you can get something done right there and then. These are the things that take a little bit of work, but we're going through dissecting what we don't need and implementing what the things that we do need. And you guys are going to have this out to you guys. And believe me when I say we're working day and night to get this out to you guys, you know, which allows us to actually scale things the right way and see the numbers we want to track the right way, because now we can create volume. Volume creates business, and business creates a lot of happy people's pocketbooks and families and everything we got to take care of. Like Diego said, we're here to make money. Like we're literally here to make money. And I totally understand that mentality. So going forward, the things that we're going to track is very simple. We're going to track opportunities created. Who's out working? Who's out there doing what they need to be doing? Like who's out creating accounts, right? The other thing is going to be, we don't have the specific names to them yet, but the other thing is going to be contract signed, or welcome calls, or verification calls, whatever we want to call them, but it's literally a contract signed. Who's out selling? Not just who's out creating business, but who's actually out selling the business, who's out generating this and putting through the pipeline, right? The other thing we're going to track, number 3, is caps, or permit submitted, or perfect packet, whatever. Every state calls it a little bit different, but we're going to come and create a uniform way to track it where we know exactly when it capped. That's what we're going to see, how many caps people are actually putting in, who's actually out there creating business and actually funneling it through their pipeline to installation, which is the last one, who's actually out getting installs. All these are going to have points attached to them, and everything we do, our power rankings throughout the week, is going to be based on who's making opportunities, who's signing agreements, who's creating caps, and who's getting installations. So going forward, we're going to do a top 5. The top 5, the top 5 director. And guys, when I say this, is like I'm looking to promote more directors. We need to promote more leadership in order to grow this thing, because we're going to be bringing in more people in. We need more leaders to help us actually influence more people so we can guide them, right? So we're going to do top 5, directors, top 5 DMs, and top 5 reps. There's going to be a matrix, and we're going to give them a shout out every week. On our Friday meeting, we're going to break down, hey, this is our top 5. Congratulations, and number 1. We're also going to actually get an MVP for the week company-wide. Who that MVP was, like how they crushed it, what they did, and we're going to give them 5 minutes to go over and do a quick little training, 5-10 minutes, a little training on what they did the prior week to crush it. So they're getting the shout outs, they're getting airtime, and they're explaining to all of us what they did. Because like Jason said, it doesn't matter if it comes from the very top or the very bottom. We can learn in every single scenario. We can learn from everyone from each other. So those are the little things that are going to be tweaked, and we're going to be able to start seeing what we're actually doing nationwide, so we can compare and create contests that are fair for everybody to be competing. And that's, I think that's the best way to scale things, is to know exactly where we're at and where we're headed. But that's part of what we're doing right now. We're hoping to have an update for you guys this Friday with Rhino, the simplification of Rhino, because I know it's been a pain in the ass, guys, like seriously. Like, and I can't thank you guys enough for just having the patience and just literally sticking by us. Like, one thing when I got back here, I didn't even go to sleep. I actually got on the phone and I'm like, okay, Rhino needs to change like now. This is no longer like we're gonna put this off till tomorrow. It needs to start working in on this now. And I know Jason's been pushing this really hard, and I got on Jason's corner on this, and it's something that we need to simplify just to help everyone out. Hold on one second, guys.
A wolf pack.
I got a dog that just doesn't, anytime he hears anything, he goes off. So I do apologize.
Good.
But anyways, that's basically what I have right now for you guys moving forward. Count on Tuesdays to just be about training, be about understanding where the company's at, what direction we're headed, inputs, contests that we're going to be running and implementing out. Those things, we're going to use you guys to help us. Like literally, we're going to use each other here to all of us so we can all grow together moving forward. But one thing I do ask from everybody during these trainings, please have your cameras on. I want to see your faces. I'm big on knowing who I'm talking to. I'm big on understanding, like, if you're paying attention, If you're all in, like I'm big on that. I go through this training and I look at who's actually paying attention to what we're doing. Guys, there's too much on the line for us not to care. There's too much on the line for us not to be engaged and go all in. So I'm going to be making sure that you guys are here with me. I want to grow with you guys, and not just financially, guys, because that's inevitable. The more we grow, the better we're going to get, and the more money we're going to get. But I want to grow with you guys as human beings. Like I want to be able to create a place where we can impact thousands of people, not hundreds, but thousands of people. And we literally have, the foundation to do it here. But we just got to go to work. And then there's a lot of things that we need to do, especially in our end. Jason and I and ownership, we have a lot of work to do in order to create a better environment for you guys. We promise you, we're going to go kick ass. We're going to do what we tell you we're going to do. We're going to simplify the process for you guys to get better. And literally, we're going to start dominating this marketplace. I think, like I told everybody that I met with, this is not about competing with the little companies. This is about competing with the legacies and the Vivint. Like we want to be in there in the same ring with these guys. We want to make sure that we can go toe to toe with these guys. And with the leadership that we have here and the people that we can bring in and the people that we already have, I think we'll win. I think at the end of the day, we got better people. We got more qualified people. We got hungrier people. We got people that got shit to prove. Because I know this because of the shit that we've been dealing with for this long. Like, if that ain't winners, you ain't gonna find something better than that. So once we simplify everything we do, I know we're gonna win no matter what. So guys, just ask from you guys. Thank you for believing in us and continue to believe in us. We're going to make this process better. And when we do these meetings and we do these trainings, it's all about growth and it's all about you guys. We want to get everyone to the next level because we need you guys there. Jason, that's all I got.
It's awesome, man. Yeah, I don't have a whole lot to add. Just one quote. So going back to the running analogy that Zach brought up. So I don't know if you guys have read or heard of Steve Prefontaine. He's a dude. He's a long distance runner. He wrote a book. Just was not supposed to break any records or do anything in his career. At some point, I'll get you guys all a copy of the book. But he says this quote in there that was told to me like beginning of my career that when you look at success and you look at everybody's success level, like all these different characteristics come into the play to make somebody successful or not, whatever you define success as. But the one trait most associated with success over all others is optimism. Like if you look at anybody who's successful, anybody who's successful in what we would measure success here in our life that we live in, whether that's money, whether that's family, whether it's anything, the one trait most associated with success is generally optimism. It's the ability to look at a problem and see the fact that it is a problem. It's not to be passive or blind to things, but it's the fact that there is a way through it. There is always going to be a way through it. So going back to what Willie said on some of these things that, that we're dealing with, like, dude, I've been with a lot of companies, or not a lot of companies, but I've seen a lot of companies. I've dealt with a lot of things. Like, you will deal with things no matter what. You will deal with shit. But when you work with people that are going to be as hungry about making the change and getting solutions as the people that I see currently on the team, that's the catalyst. That's the difference, because you're going to go through stuff. You're going to go through stuff no matter what. So I would just challenge everybody to look at these things that you're going through, and everybody does. I've never met a group of people that are more willing to just see the bright side of every situation, but continue to do that, because your people that work for you, the people that are under you, that essentially allows them to reach a level of potential that they wouldn't reach unless you were that person. If you're negative, if you're pessimistic about everything, realize you're not just discounting your own potential, you're also discounting what they can get to in life, the level that they can get to. It affects them tremendously. So realize that your impact level, it grows the more that you take on and the more people that you have. So look at these challenges, try to see the light at the end of the tunnel, work through solutions, and excited for the next call. Appreciate everybody being on. That's my last statement. But Willie, go ahead.
let me jump in and say one more thing. Thanks, Jason. Appreciate you giving those shout outs out and going through everything. But guys, importantly here, the book that we're training on, go right now, order it. If you don't have it, order it right now. Take a screenshot of the receipt, send it to me. I believe in this book so much. I'm buying it for every single one of you guys on this call. So take a picture of that book, send me the receipt, and I will vend you the money or send you on next payroll, whatever it is. But we'll get you taken care of. But I need everybody on this book because I need everybody to be on the same page with us. So just whatever you do after the call, get that book and then email me the receipt, please, ASAP. Okay?
Hey guys, in the meantime, that's actually on YouTube. The whole book's on YouTube if you want to do that until you get the actual hardback.
Okay.
It's also on, there's also a YouTube audio book as well. So YouTube's free though, so.
Yeah, that's true.
Cool.
So if you guys, like I said, I'm willing to put that in on you guys. Like I'm going to invest on you guys. So if you decide to get the book, which however way you do it, you got to get the book. Just send me the receipt if you decide to buy it. I'll buy it for you guys. And seriously, we'll have another call on Friday with everyone else involved. But thank you for being a part of the first leadership call. It's definitely not going to be the last, but it's going to be launching to where we're going and how the future is going to be and what's expected from everybody. So care about all of you guys, and I'll see you guys on Friday again, okay?
Okay. Take care, guys.
Sounds good. See you guys. Thanks for the call.